Okay, good morning, GPAR. This is Matt Braden from the GPAR team. So happy to see our members with us this Monday morning after a nice Eagles victory last night. Awesome outcome. Uh, wow, what a running back performance by Barkley last night. Amazing. Sad to see Brandon Graham get hurt, but what a win. What a win. But looking ahead, tomorrow afternoon, Janice Benstock, 1 o'clock. She'll be doing the buyer agency contract workshop. Please join us for that. Looking ahead to next week, there's a bunch of things on the calendar. The YPN committee is hosting their restorative yoga session. That's at 10 a.m. So stretch it out after you've been around your family, probably ate too much turkey and pie and all that stuff like that. Start your week next week with yoga to kind of reset. Then Thursday, Trent Pettis will be doing his legendary agreement of sale workshop. It's for the grizzled veteran as well as the newbie. Hopefully you can join us for that. And then on Friday of next week, we will have another coffee talk, and that will be with Sherry Martin from the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors, giving us a legislative update. Everything that's gone on this past year out in Harrisburg as it relates to laws and what's being enacted, things that impact your business, as well as what's the shakeout from the just completed election. So lots of stuff in the hopper. Hope you can check us out on one of those sessions. We'll record everything except for the yoga. We don't record the yoga session. That's an in-person thing. Got to experience it. But obviously, if you don't catch one of us live, one of these sessions live, you can catch it in a recording on our YouTube channel. So let's get to today, Coffee Talk with our president, Chris Mattioli. First, we got to give some congratulations to Chris. He's a little bit sore today because he completed his first ever marathon. He did the Philadelphia Marathon yesterday. Congratulations, Chris. Well done. Good
Thanks,
stuff.
Matt. I would have never told you if I knew you were going to announce it. Nah, all good.
All global now, Mr. Worldwide.
That's it. No, thank you. And yeah, just excited to have Brandi here today. Brandi's going to talk about the 2024 profile of home buyers and sellers report, that profile report. So I will get out of the way. I will hand it off to Brandi. Thank you so much for taking the time and willing to present to our members. Take it away, Brandi.
Thank you, Chris and Matt. I'm happy to be able to share, our new profile that we just released earlier this month. Let me find my PowerPoint presentation. Everyone's able to see this. Looks good. Great. Thank you, Matt. So again, this is our 2024 profile of home buyers and sellers report. So this looks at all of the different aspects of the home buying process from our home buyers' perspectives, then also our home sellers' perspectives. And in this report, we were able to include many trend lines this year, going all the way back to some of our 1981 data. So we're able to see how the data has changed over the years, just some of the challenges that our recent home buyers are facing. And again, since this data is among our successful home buyers, it's really interesting to see how those, especially first-time home buyers, are able to get into home ownership this year. So starting out, we'll look at some of our median ages of our recent home buyers. So this year, we saw that there were actually record highs for all of our recent home buyers. So looking in 2024, we saw that the median ages actually increased this year to 38 for our first-time home buyers, up from 35 last year. Then also increased for our repeat home buyers, up to median age of 61 this year from 58. So again, these are record highs that we've seen since we began tracking this data. We've seen that those recent buyers are trending older, especially it's interesting to see for our first-time home buyers. We're seeing that they might need to save for a longer period of time for their down payment. So that might be delaying their home purchase for a longer period of time. Then again, we see that those repeat home buyers might be deciding to purchase later in life, making some of those moves, maybe even into retirement. Then looking at our household compositions of our recent home buyers. So we continue to see that married couples are making up the largest share of home buyers. This year, we saw that there was a slight increase for married couples to 62%. And then it's also interesting to look at our shares of single female home buyers. So we saw slight increases for those single female buyers up to 20%. We saw that the shares for single males and unmarried couples did actually decrease this year. So for the single males, decreased down to 8%, and then for unmarried couples, down to 6%. Then when we look by our first-time home buyer compositions, we do see some differences. We see some larger shares, especially of single female home buyers, and then also larger shares of unmarried couples who are first-time home buyers. And again, in this report this year, we did see some record highs and also record lows. So one of the record lows that we did see this year was actually a share of first-time home buyers. So we saw that that dropped down to just 24% this year. That was the lowest share that we've seen since we began tracking this data back in 1981. And we had previously seen an all-time low back in 2022 of just 26%, but we saw that that decreased even further this year. So we're seeing that our first-time home buyers are still facing limited inventory, challenges with housing affordability, and then also, again, difficulty saving towards their down payment. And when we look at some of the difficult steps that our first-time home buyers are facing, we see that, especially among our first-time home buyers, they're still citing that difficulty to save. So for our successful first-time home buyers this year, we're seeing that they're also facing some challenges like student loan debt, which I'll get into further later. They have credit card debt, car loans, and then also current rent payments that might be holding them back from saving. Then looking at our median household incomes. So we're comparing the last, our 2023 median household income to the previous 2 years. So we've seen that especially last year and this year, that those successful home buyers have needed to have higher incomes to get into home ownership, especially with rising home prices and interest rates. They needed that extra income. So we saw that the median household income for our first-time home buyers in 2023 actually increased to $96,000 this year. And when we look back, so that was for repeat home buyers. For our first-time home buyers, we saw that that increased to $97,000 this year. So looking just back 2 years, we've seen that for first-time home buyers, their household income has actually increased by almost $26,000 just in the last 2 years. So we've seen that especially those first-time home buyers needed that extra income to be successful, again, with all of those factors that they're facing. But then looking at our repeat home buyers as well, we've seen that their household income has also increased over the last 2 years. So this year we saw that repeat home buyers, their median household income was $114,300. Then as well, looking at the share of all buyers, we've seen that those household incomes increasing as well. Then another trend that we've been looking at, so this is another one of those record highs that I mentioned. So we saw that the share of multi-generational home buyers actually increased to a record high of 17%. And again, those multi-generational homes, they can house elderly relatives, adult children, adult siblings, all of those different family compositions. And we see that some of the reasons that our recent home buyers are choosing to purchase these multi-generational homes this year, especially is for the cost savings that's involved. They're also being faced again with that housing affordability. So this might be a way for them to afford a larger home together. So cost savings was at the top of the list this year. We also see that there's a share of home buyers who are taking care of their aging parents. As well, we see that children over the age of 18 might be moving back into their home. And then we also see a pretty similar percentage that have children over the age of 18 who have never left home. So they're looking for those larger homes that can accommodate those extra members of their family, and especially for first-time home buyers who might be struggling to enter the market. We see that they are more likely to purchase multi-generational homes, especially due to that cost savings and having multiple incomes that can afford to purchase together. Then looking at another trend this year, so looking at the share of home buyers who had children under the age of 18 in their home, we actually saw that this was also a historic low at just 27%, compared to those buyers who did not have children in the home. So 73% did not have children, and something that what we likely attribute this to. One thing is the, again, higher share of repeat home buyers this year. So we know that those repeat buyers tend to be older and are less likely to have children in their home, as well as we've seen that there's an overall drop in birth rates. And like we've seen that those first-time home buyers and all buyers reaching record high ages, we see that they might be having children later in life. So we see that they're delaying their home purchase. So they might be delaying having children as well. So for first-time home buyers, we do see that they had a larger percentage that had children in their home at 36%. And then again, for our repeat home buyers, they're less likely to have children in their home. Then looking at the race and ethnicity of our recent home buyers. So this year we saw that 83% of recent home buyers identified as white or Caucasian. We saw that 7% identified as Black or African American, 6% as Hispanic Latino, and then 4% for Asian Pacific Islander home buyers. So we do see some differences when we look by our first-time home buyers. So we see larger percentages of our minority home buyers. And then in the new year, we'll also be releasing, again, our snapshot of race and home buying reports. So I work on this report with one of my colleagues, so we'll be looking further into some of the home buying trends by race and ethnicity, but right now just looking among all of those recent home buyers and first time and repeat buyers, we're able to see some of the differences in race and ethnicity for our recent buyers. Then looking at the types of homes that our recent buyers were purchasing this year. So looking over the last couple of years, again, in 2022, we did see some other big shifts and jumps, and something that we saw in 2022 was actually changes in the types of homes that recent buyers were purchasing. So back in 2022, we saw an increase in the shares of mobile and manufactured housing, and then also cabins and cottages. So over the last 2 years, we have seen that that has started to shift back towards townhomes and row homes, making up the second largest share of the types of homes that were purchased. So this year they made up 7%, apartments and condos with 2 to 4 units, and then also 5 or more, both made up 6%. Then we did see that those shares for mobile and manufactured housing, and then also cabin and cottages, did have remained decreased the last 2 years. So back to 3% for those mobile and manufactured homes, and then cabin and cottages. And we see that the majority of our recent home buyers are continuing to purchase detached single-family homes. Then looking at the location of our recent home buyers that they're purchasing in. So again, you'll see that some of those shifts back in 2022. So we had previously seen that those home buyers might have been looking towards some of the more affordable areas, maybe some of the more affordable home types for them to purchase back in 2022. So in 2022, we did see a pretty big shift and decrease from home buyers purchasing in the suburbs and subdivisions. We saw increases in small towns and also rural areas. And the last 2 years, we have seen that that has started to shift back, but we are continuing to see the suburbs are making up the largest share for locations that our recent buyers are purchasing in at 45%. We see that small towns remain the same as last year at 23%. Then something else that we've seen this year is an increase in the location for urban and central city areas, so up to 16%. And then we've seen that, again, those rural areas have remained the same this year. Then just a small increase for our resort and recreational areas. And looking at the distance that our recent home buyers were moving. So again, looking at 2022, we saw a pretty big increase in the median miles that were moved for our recent buyers. So we saw that they were in 2022 moving about 50 miles, but the last 2 years we've seen that that has decreased down to about 20 miles. And we see that that has remained for this year. So looking historically, we had previously seen that those buyers were moving just about 10 to 15 miles since we began tracking that data. So that jump of 50 was a historic high. So again, we saw that those buyers might have had more flexibility with their work schedules. Again, looking towards those more affordable areas, so they were able and willing to make those longer moves. And then also looking at some of the influencing neighborhood factors, we see that the convenience to one's job has actually dropped since 2014. And this year we saw that drop to 34%. So we're seeing that some of the influencing neighborhood choices and moving factors continue to be moving towards friends and family. We're seeing that they're looking for neighborhood affordability, and then also, again, the proximity to their friends and family. And we've seen that some of those small towns and rural areas have provided that dynamic that is more affordable to our recent home buyers. Then looking at the prior living arrangements of our recent home buyers, and this is specifically among our first-time buyers. So we're looking at that light blue area. So this is a share of first-time buyers who live with their parents, relatives, or friends immediately prior to their home purchase. And we saw that in 2022, that was actually at a record high at 27%. We saw that that did decrease last year to 23% and then up slightly this year at 24%. So we've seen that this is a way for first-time home buyers to maybe avoid some of those rental increases. They're able to pay down some of their debt, work on their credit scores, and then also save towards their down payment, which can be very helpful for them, not having those extra costs. So something that we are going to continue tracking. Then looking at our recent home buyers and their use of real estate agents, we saw that this year, 88% of recent buyers were working with a real estate agent to purchase their home. And we see that those buyers are really looking to their real estate agent or broker for help finding the right property, help with all of those negotiations, and then helping them to understand the home buying process. So we've seen that that has remained a very high share. Looking at some of the information sources that our recent buyers were using during their recent home purchase. So looking at some of our top answers, we saw that real estate agents are remaining as the top information source to our recent home buyers. And even to our first-time home buyers, we see that they're looking to their agent for all of their questions and for help throughout the home buying process. We also see that they're using mobile and tablet search devices. They're attending open houses, and then also looking at online video sites, or maybe even when they're driving by, looking at all the different yard signs. Then we also ask about some of the most difficult steps for our recent home buyers throughout the whole home buying process. So we see that across all of our recent home buyers, they're still saying that finding the right property to purchase is the most difficult step. So even for our first-time home buyers and also our repeat home buyers. Then looking specifically for our first-time home buyers, we see that they're having trouble with all of the paperwork, just understanding the home buying process and all of the steps that's involved. as well as saving towards their down payment. We see that that is much higher for our first-time buyers compared to repeat buyers. Getting a mortgage, and then also maybe if they need to have appraisal for their property. So we see that our first-time home buyers are listing a lot of these steps more often than our repeat home buyers, and our repeat buyers were more likely to say that there were no difficult steps in the home buying process. Then looking even further at what some of our recent home buyers are looking for most from their real estate agent, we see that the number one is still help with finding the right home for them to purchase. So we've seen that they're facing lots of challenges. So they're really looking to their agents for help to find that right home for them. This is among all of our recent home buyers. So they're also looking for help with negotiating some of the terms of sale, help with all the price negotiations, and then as well the paperwork. And when we look by our first-time home buyers, we see that there are even higher percentages, especially for that the shares for price negotiations and also paperwork. And then we also see that they're looking for help to determine what comparable homes are for sale and then how much they can afford as a home buyer. And looking at going into our financial section. So we ask our all of our recent buyers about their median down payment amounts and how much they are putting down towards their down payment. So this year we did see some increases among our first-time buyers and repeat home buyers. So we saw that for first-time buyers, they're typically putting down about 9%. So that's an increase from last year at 8%. And then for our repeat home buyers, we've seen that they're putting down about 23%. So we've also seen that they are putting down a higher amount just compared to last year. And when we looked at our median household incomes, we've seen that those home buyers are wealthier this year. So they're able to put down higher down payments, especially for our repeat home buyers. They have that housing equity built up. So they're able to put more towards their down payment, and also putting more down has allowed them to maybe save money on their mortgage payments. So we saw that those have all increased this year. And then something else that we're looking at this year is the share of all cash home buyers. So we saw that this also reached an all-time high this year at 26%. And it's important to note that all of our survey data is among just primary residence buyers. So we filter out all of the vacation home buyers and also investors. So we see that this increase is just among those primary home buyers. And we see that this is likely also trending upwards because of the larger share of our repeat home buyers this year. So again, those repeat buyers have that housing equity that they can put more cash down compared to some of our other home buyers. So we see that they might not need that financing like our first-time buyers would. Then looking at some of the down payment sources. So looking among all of our recent home buyers, we see that savings is still their primary source, followed by, again, those proceeds from a primary sale. So especially for our repeat home buyers who have that. And then something that we have been looking at is among our first-time home buyers. So looking at those shares, the combined share of gifts and loans from family and friends, we see that that was 25% this year for receiving that help. And then for our first-time home buyers, they might be looking to some of these alternate down payment sources this year. So looking at sales of stocks and bonds, using their 401k and pension. We see that this is, again, higher among our first-time home buyers. And then that last row, so this is the first year that we've actually added in this option for community and government down payment assistance programs. So we see that overall is about 1%, and then higher for our first-time home buyers, at 3%. So be interesting to see as we continue asking this question in the next few years to see if that increases. Then going back to the shares of home buyers who have reported that they have student loan debt. So we see that among all of our recent buyers, 17% are reporting that they have student loan debt. And we see that it is higher for our first-time home buyers. So at 32%, and then 12% for our repeat home buyers. So we're looking at the median student loan debt amounts. We see that it was median of $30,000 for all of our recent buyers. But we see that higher share for our first-time home buyers can really hold them back from saving towards their down payment. So it's really important to look at. And yeah, we've seen historically that it has been higher for those first-time buyers. And then looking again at some of our recent home sellers who were how they were choosing to sell their home. So this year, we actually saw that it increased to 90% last year. And also interesting to see that we saw a historic low of for sale by owner properties this year. So we see that even our home sellers, they're looking to their agent for help to market their home. So it's really interesting to see that both of those shares for buyers and sellers are reaching such high levels. So that was my last slide, but I will leave this up for a little bit. So our new report is available on our website, nar.realtor, under our research section. And then you can also follow us on social media where we're posting about all of our different reports that we're releasing. And yeah, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I see we have one hand raised. At least. Go ahead, Annette.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for the presentation. I have a question in regards to the increase, whether or not you foresee, or if there's any information, increase in manufactured houses.
So I don't believe we saw substantial increases this year. So back in 2022 was the first year that we did see those increases. And I believe it actually went up to about 8% compared to, let me pull up this year's numbers. Let's see. So this year it was about 3%. So we have seen that has come down from what we previously saw. So we haven't seen any other increases as of the last 2 years.
Do you have any information as to why? Because I'm thinking it would be more affordable to do that.
Mm-hmm. That's what we would assume for especially 2022. We saw those increases in cabs and cottages, manufactured housing. So we assumed that it was because of their more affordable options, and then as well as the shift to those small towns or rural areas.
Okay. Chris, I don't know. You have any other questions? If not, I got another question.
Good. No, go ahead, Annette.
Buyers ask fund, right? So when the buyers made the statement about finding the right home to purchase, by any chance were they implying that the agents aren't listening to what they are looking for, or is it really just based on the inventory?
I think it would be based on inventory and maybe what is available in their price range.
All right. And then my last question is, was there an increase in Black home ownership? I know you mentioned 7%, which is interesting that we're larger than the other two minority groups.
So let me see, for this year, I believe it was actually the same percentage. So we have the full trend line in our report for race and ethnicity. So this year it was the same as last year.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
At 7%.
Thank you.
And Brandi, those numbers are based on all the homes that sold. That was the percentages, right? The demographic
So they're based
breakdown.
on home buyers. recent home buyers.
Okay, so the percentage of the recent home buyers were those numbers in that report.
Yes.
Do they look at the correlation to population at all, or no? Do you factor that in any other equations?
So not for this report. So we do send out a survey to just recent home buyers and recent sellers. So we're able to get back there.
Right.
This is all based on their perspective. So a lot of it is left up to how they are interpreting the questions.
Gotcha.
But then we
Thank
do
you.
have other
Yeah.
housing statistics data.
Yep. I'm on this site, man. You got to kind of sift through them all to find what you're looking for. I love it though. Love the data. So I appreciate all the work. Any
I have a question.
recommendations from your look back? I know we can't predict the future, but any recommendations you can make to us as members, and how we proceed with this information to help you know um, kind of shorten some of those gaps that we're seeing.
Yeah, I think just at least having the information available to you to better know who the successful home buyers are and ways that they're making home ownership work for them. Options, especially for like down payment sources that especially your first time home buyers are using. I know that I mentioned the down payment source, down payment assistance option that we added in this year. Our members would know best what's available in their communities. So providing or connecting buyers to those different programs, I think would be especially helpful. I think the financial section of the report is helpful for our members to know.
Thank you. Yeah, and we have a couple programs within the city of Philadelphia that we've been trying to continue to promote through our members. Turn the key, even the homestead exemption, but different ways to grant programs that first-time home buyers could get some of that money as well, is all going to help bridge that gap. But thank you for that. I see another hand raised. Go ahead, Martha, if you want to unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I have a couple questions about how the survey data is collected. Specifically, how many total responses you received and what percentage of responses you're collecting versus how many you're sending out, and just like can you talk a little bit about how the data is collected?
Sure, absolutely. So we mail out, so this is our last mailed out survey. So those respondents, they have the option to either take it by mail and send back the responses, or we also have a link online where they can fill it out virtually. So we send out our survey. So this recent data is for primary residence buyers between July of 2023 and then June of 2024. So we look at that time period. And this year we sent out 167,700 surveys. And then this year we received 5,390 responses. So our response rate was about 3.2%. So again, once we get back all of that data, then we filter out all of those vacation and investment buyers so that we're just looking at those primary residence home buyers. So again, they have the option to fill it out online via hard survey. We also have the survey available in English and Spanish. So all of the information is based on that 12-month period ending in June.
Okay, that's really interesting. How do you decide where to send the 167,000 surveys?
So we work with actually 2 outside vendors. So we work with one to help us send out all of the surveys. And then we work with a different vendor to actually collect all of those names and addresses of those recent buyers. So this year we worked with a company called Melissa Data Corporation. So they provided all of the names and addresses on the database for those recent buyers, and then worked with our other survey vendor to actually get those surveys out.
Great. I just have one more question.
Sure.
While I'm very interested in this, would you say that, are there any gaps in the survey data that you would like to be able to fill in terms of respondents? Like, do you feel like you're getting a broad representation or not?
So I actually do, and especially since we have been, this is one of our longest running surveys, so we have all of that data to compare. So we're able to track on a yearly basis. If data is not making sense, we're able to catch it. So, but what we've seen, especially in recent years, and all of the struggles and challenges that our buyers are facing, to me, it seems like our data is accurately representing what our buyers are telling us and what we've seen compared to our other survey data. And then also, I will mention that we also have lots of our member surveys, so you might be receiving those from us as well. So we're able to also get our members' perspective on a lot of different topics in real estate, and especially in our member profile, we ask about them working with clients. So we look at some of the challenges that they think that home buyers are facing. And we see that it is pretty well lined up.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy, for those questions. And I did, I'm sorry, that was Martha. Kathy sent me some questions direct in the messenger. Kathy, I did share with you a couple links for that Philly First program and the Turn the Key program. And I would encourage you to talk to your lenders too, your preferred lenders. Some of the lenders have matching programs as well. I've seen a lender in my office, help a buyer get close to $40,000 in grants and soft second mortgages to help with their acquisition of their property. So you can feel free to reach out to me as well. I can connect you with that particular lender if you like. But I would encourage you to speak to your office, your broker, and your preferred vendors as well. Any other questions for Brandi while we have her here? Don't miss this opportunity. So Brandi, that report was just released. You said when? I'm sorry.
Earlier this month, so November 4th.
Okay. And how long does it take you to gather all that information? When do those go out again?
So we start sending out the surveys around June, July. I guess our time period ends around June. So early July, we start sending those out. So we start getting data back in September. So yeah, it's pretty fast process from September to November that we're getting all of the data together and putting together the whole report.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, guys, one more chance. Any other questions for Brandi? I just want to thank you, Brandi. I find this information and a lot of the analytics on the national site really valuable to help us show our clients what's happening, not just talk about these things where they feel like we're just pulling these numbers out of thin air. The data is really valuable and very much appreciate all your work that goes into it. I know it's not an easy task and I know it's not perfect, right? You can't always get all those surveys back and all the information spot on, but really do value it. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, and I really suggest taking a look at all of our other research. There might be some other topics that are of interest to you, especially among all of our different member surveys.
Awesome. Thank you. Matt, I'm going to pass it back off to you for any other remarks.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. Thank you, Brandi, Chris. Thanks for the questions from our members. And again, remember, tomorrow afternoon, we have Janice's buyer agency workshop. If you can attend, maybe spread the word or catch the recording afterwards. Thanks so much, and everybody have a great day. Take care.